Yesterday was day 2 of Amy Coney Barrett's confirmation hearings to the Supreme Court. Barrett is Donald Trump's nominee to replace the late, great Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Barrett couldn't possibly come from a more different philosophy than Ginsburg. Barrett is a religious Christian, a member of a cult named the People of Praise, who said Antonin Scalia was the most in line with her judicial philosophy. Day 2 of the confirmation hearings, truly a clinic in obfuscation and deception. And what's stunning about yesterday's second day of hearings is that I don't think Amy Coney Barrett actually said anything directly about her philosophy. Her answers were either saying nothing and explaining why she'll be saying nothing, or telegraphing her positions in a coy and deceptive way while leaving herself complete latitude to do anything in the future, and all sorts of senators taking a shot at it. Just a pathetic lack of openness. Sometimes it was almost comical. And I say almost comical because then you remember, wait, she might be influencing the top level judiciary of the country for decades. When you're about to laugh, you remember that and you stop laughing. So let's look at some examples. There is speculation that Donald Trump will dispute the election. If he does, it could reach the Supreme Court. So Chris Coons, Democratic senator, asked Barrett whether she'd recuse herself from any cases related to this election, since it would be an obvious conflict having to adjudicate an election in which the guy who nominated you is a candidate, but she won't recuse herself.
But I think the gravamen, the core issue in recusal is that any judge or justice should recuse themselves from a case in which their impartiality might reasonably be questioned. Given what President Trump said, given the rushed context of this confirmation, will you commit to recusing yourself from any case arising from a dispute in the presidential election results 3 weeks from now?
Senator Coons, thank you for giving me the opportunity to clarify this, because I want to be very clear for the record and to all members of this committee that no matter what anyone else may think or expect, I have not committed to anyone or so much as signaled. I've never even written. I've been in a couple of opinions in the Seventh Circuit that have been around the edges of election law. But I haven't even written anything that I would think anybody could reasonably say, oh, this is how she might resolve an election dispute.
So she does not commit to that. And why would she? I mean, there's been no consequences to anything any of Donald Trump's cronies have done. Why would she recuse herself? No way. No surprise at all. Then it goes to Cory Booker, Democratic senator from New Jersey, who asks about the importance of presidents committing to a peaceful transfer of power, something that presidents should commit themselves to generally. And she won't answer that. Cory Booker presses her and she still won't do it.
He asked at this time. Here's another one. Do you believe that every president should make a commitment unequivocally and resolutely to the peaceful transfer of power?
Well, Senator, that seems to me to be pulling me in a little bit into this question of whether the president has said that he would not peacefully leave office. And so to the extent that this is a political controversy right now, as a judge, I want to stay out of it, and I don't want to express a view on.
So, Judge, I appreciate what you've said about respecting our founding fathers, about the originalism. It's remarkable that we're at a place right now that this is becoming a question and a topic, but I'm asking you, in light of our founding fathers, in light of our traditions, in light that everyone who serves in that office has sworn an oath where they, quote, swear to preserve and protect and defend the Constitution of the United States, I'm just asking you, should a president commit themselves, like our founding fathers, I think, have a clear intention, like the grace that George Washington showed, to the peaceful transfer of power? Is that something that presidents should be able to do?
Well, one of the beauties of America from the beginning of the Republic is that we have had peaceful transfers of power, and that disappointed voters have accepted the new leaders that come into office. And that's not true in every country. And I think it is part of the genius of our Constitution.
Did you see what she did there? When asked about whether presidents should commit to peaceful transfers of power, she says the great thing about the U.S. is we've always had peaceful transfers of power, which of course ignores that we've never had a president like Trump who won't actually commit to one. but she leaves that out conveniently. Really interesting moment when it was Senator Kamala Harris's turn. Kamala asks whether Barrett is aware that Donald Trump has made comments about striking down the Affordable Care Act and is pursuing lawsuits to strike down the Affordable Care Act. And Barrett says she hasn't heard of them, but Harris was prepared. And Harris says, well, while you were talking to people getting ready for these hearings, certainly the topic must have come up, right? And this puts Barrett into a pretzel where she has to admit, well, yeah, I was told it might come up, but not in the context of Trump pledging to eliminate and suing to eliminate the ACA. Doesn't pass the sniff test. Let's take a look.
Barrett asked you earlier today, but did not receive an answer. Prior to your nomination, were you aware of President Trump's statements committing to nominate judges who will strike down the Affordable Care Act? And I'd appreciate a yes or no answer, please.
Well, Senator Harris, I want to be very, very careful. I'm under oath. As I'm sitting here, I don't recall seeing those statements. But I don't recall seeing or hearing those statements, but I don't really know what context they were in. So I guess I can't really definitively give you a yes or no answer. What I would like to say is I don't recall hearing about or seeing such statements.
Well, I imagine you were surrounded by a team of folks that helped prepare you for this nomination hearing.
I have yes.
But let me finish if you don't mind.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Did they inform you of the president's statements and that this might be a question that was presented to you during the course of this hearing?
When I had my calls with senators, it came up. Many of the Democratic senators wanted to know about the Affordable Care Act and to satisfy themselves that I had not made any pre-commitments to the president about it.
And so you then became aware of the president's statement, is that correct?
Let's see, Senator Harris, in the context of these conversations, I honestly can't remember whether senators framed the questions in the context of President Trump's comments. Perhaps so. I think from my perspective, the most important thing is to say that I have never made a commitment. I've never been asked to make a commitment, and I hope that the committee would trust in my integrity.
So understand that Barrett says, well, the Affordable Care Act did come up with multiple senators, but not in the context of what Trump said. She wants us to believe she had multiple conversations about the Affordable Care Act without it ever being mentioned that Trump has been on a 4-year rampage, including lawsuits to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. Completely not believable. Now, as a brief interlude, check out this hard-hitting question from Republican Senator Ben Sasse.
Tell us about the Scalia-Ginsburg friendship and the impact that it made on you.
Really tough stuff, right? So that was a Republican interlude. Now back to real questions. In this next one, Senator Dianne Feinstein lays out a question, which is, you say you were like Scalia. Scalia didn't think gay people should get married, could get married legally. What do you think?
Cases. Now, you said in your acceptance speech for this nomination that Justice Scalia's philosophy is your philosophy. Do you agree with this particular point of Justice Scalia's view that the U.S. Constitution does not afford gay people the fundamental right to marry?
Senator Feinstein, as I said to Senator Graham at the outset, if I were confirmed, you would be getting Justice Barrett, not Justice Scalia. So I don't think that anybody should assume that just because Justice Scalia decided a decision a certain way, that I would too. But I'm not going to express a view on whether I agree or disagree with Justice Scalia for the same reasons that I've been giving. Justice Ginsburg, with her characteristic pithiness, used this to describe how a nominee should comport herself at a hearing.
So that's a game Barrett plays. She is smart, where she will cite Ruth Bader Ginsburg in some innocuous way to avoid answering a real question. And Feinstein tries again on Roe v. Wade, doesn't get any further with it.
So on something that is really a major cause with major effect on over half of the population of this country, who are women, after all, it's distressing not to get a straight answer. So let me try Again, do you agree with Justice Scalia's view that Roe was wrongly decided?
Senator, I completely understand why you are asking the question, but again, I can't pre-commit or say, yes, I'm going in with some agenda, because I'm not. I don't have any agenda. I have no agenda to try to overrule Casey. I have an agenda to stick to the rule of law and decide cases as they come.
They often use this framing to avoid answering. I'll decide cases as they come up, speculating about past decisions, so you never get any actual answer out of them. And then lastly from yesterday, there's more, but these are some highlights. Here's Amy Klobuchar asking very simply, do you agree it's illegal to intimidate voters at the polls? And Barrett says it's a hypothetical. It's not. It's simply a question about the law.
Judge Barrett, under federal law, is it illegal to intimidate voters at the polls?
Senator Klobuchar, I can't characterize the facts in a hypothetical situation, and I can't apply the law to a hypothetical set of facts. I can only decide cases as they come to me, litigated by parties on a full record after fully engaging precedent, talking to colleagues, writing an opinion. And so I can't answer questions like that.
Okay, well, I'll make it easier. 18 U.S.C. 594 outlaws anyone who intimidates, threatens, coerces, or attempts to intimidate, threaten, or coerce any other person for the purpose of interfering with the right of such other person to vote. This is a law that has been on the books for decades.
So no answer there either. So what did we learn yesterday? We learned quite simply that Amy Coney Barrett is really slippery and will say nothing. And Republicans will come out of these hearings say they were very pleased with Amy Coney Barrett's performance. Let's go and vote her in. In all likelihood, it's what will happen. Let me know what you thought about yesterday's hearings. I'm on Twitter at @Pakman. I want to take a second to tell you about one of our sponsors, S&H Masks. S&H Masks has everything you need when it comes to face masks and other protective gear for COVID-19, and they're giving my audience 20% off. S&H Masks is the company that I've personally been going to for face masks. I love and trust the products they sell, and that's actually why I reached out to them about being a sponsor. I've tried tons of different face masks this year, like many of you, and I still have not found a mask that is more comfortable or easier to breathe in than the washable cotton masks that they sell. It's made of a silky, lightweight cloth that feels great on the skin, has a convenient adjustable strap, and it features a disposable 5-layer particle filter made of activated carbon. They also have disposable cloth masks, which are really comfortable, as well as all of the other gear like face shields, alcohol wipes, no-touch infrared thermometers. And all of their prices are very reasonable. I also love S&H Masks because they've donated over 60,000 masks to healthcare institutions. They're an excellent company. Shipping is just $5 and shipping is free on orders over $150. You can get there by going to davidpakman.com/mask. The link is under this video, and you can save 20% on everything in their store when you use the coupon code DAVID.